Well, it's been a while since I reviewed these particular promotions or events, as you want to call it. I'm going back doing MLW, NXT UK, 205 Live, and of course, Ring of Honor and return of New Japan's latest tour. So, all of that will be discussed, reviewed, and talked about on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rod here. Now, if you saw the beginning of before I start talking, you saw the logo of Ring of Honor. Yes, it's back, but however, they did something very different from what I normally see. They decided to do a never before seen type of show decided to throw in. As you know, back in March, when the situation with the pandemic, with the coronavirus hitting the States, Ring of Honor explains certain situations that took place. They were supposed to do their 18-year anniversary in Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, however, the situation with the virus hasn't taken a grip until some wrestlers who arrived on that very particular day found out that the show was canceled. And there's those who are not yet arrived, but apparently they got emails telling them that the show is canceled. So they had the option either they can go to Vegas or just stay home. Some wrestlers had no clue what was going on. Like even if they were in mid-flight, they won't find out until they arrive. And there's those that missed their calls while they were either getting on board. That sort of scenario. Um, Let me throw in an example. There was Flip Gordon. He already left his home in Montana after coming back from, I think, um, the Bahamas or somewhere around there, the Caribbean. He packed his bags when he returned home, and then he flew to another area, the connecting flight. And by the time things were getting out of hand, that's when the word was getting out of the coronavirus, and he explains more, but he had no clue how bad the situation was getting. And not until he arrived in Sam's Town and everybody else were already sitting down, and that's when they're telling them that the show has been canceled. Many upcoming events, as you know, like any other promotion, with the exception of both AEW and WWE, they still continue to do their shows. But Ring of Honor's more different than those two promotions. They actually had to put a hold on it, and but there was a situation that many other wrestlers had to face. There were those that were stuck in Vegas. They were not even allowed to leave Vegas due to the restrictions, so they had to stay. They were quarantined in hotel rooms for a couple of days. But however, they did something that was different. They actually did some. They decided throwing some wrestling shows, but without fans. But these were matches that were never seen anywhere else. So they decided to just present that to us. So the first match they actually showed was Flip Gordon versus Bandito. It was a pretty good match, but at the time, keep in mind, Flip was still with the Villain Enterprises. As you know, there is a chance that the Villain Enterprises no longer exist due to the situation with Villain Enterprises leader Marty Skrull. But yeah, so it was a really good match, mostly like high flying than any other type we've seen. But it was a good match. Flip actually won. Basically, I was a bit biased on these two because I'm a fan of both. I even met Bandito. Uh, think it was what was it? October of 2018 or 2019, one of the two. Yeah, because I haven't seen him since then. But yeah, the next match was Mark Haskins along with his wife Vicky facing against Jay Lethal, which they had a pretty good, interesting story where they have faced back and forth on various occasions. It was a really good, intense match, more like a bit of the pure champion, pure style of wrestling, like we've been seeing recently with Ring of Honor, ever since they brought back the pure championship. But I haven't seen Haskins ever since then. Now I'm assuming Haskins must be stuck in the UK since that's where he's originally from. There's still no telling when we'll see these wrestlers who are mostly internationals, either from Japan or Mexico or the UK or any parts of Europe or anywhere else. So, but it was a good match. Haskins actually won by submission. So I don't know if he'll be part of that whole thing with the foundation, but we'll see what that happens. So, but I have to say it was pretty interesting to know how every wrestler that they mentioned, other than Flip Gordon, there was Cheeseburger, one of the guys from the Bouncers, Matt Taven, this girl I forgot who she was, a few others kind of explain what they felt like with the whole thing, and they, some had to work out while they're even in the hotel room. So that's pretty much what happened. But we'll hopefully we get back throwing some new content with Ring of Honor. I can't wait to see more from them. So I think right now let's just end it right here and move on with MLW's latest event, Kings of Colosseum. Okay, MLW's latest event, Kings of Colosseum. This one was advertised pretty interesting. Uh, First match we had was for the MLW World Tag Team titles in a Texas Tornado type match or hardcore, whatever, between the Dirty Blondes, along with Aria Blake, versus the current champions, the Von Erichs. Now, this match was sort of last minute thrown into the mix by uh, Colonel Sanders, the guy who's involved with the Dirty Blondes, and he basically demanded this match to happen, which they did. I wasn't too fond of it because there was no story build up. Like you gotta ask yourself, okay, what possible beef there is with the Dirty Blondes towards the Von Erichs? Like there, you have to have a good story build up. Don't get me wrong, the match was okay, but there was nothing built in it. I feel like they could have done something better. I mean, we did see recently in previous MLW event shows where the La Parks were questioning why did MLW officials gave the Dirty Blondes, who they were calling fat pigs, to have a title opportunity against the Von Erichs, and they felt that they should have been the one to challenge them for those titles, but they gave them to these guys. So that is one of those things I felt they could have just, in my opinion, I would have envisioned this during the match. The Parks come out and attack both the Dirty Blondes and the Von Erichs, like saying they are the ones who are more worthy. It would have been a great story, but it didn't happen that way. But it did end it with Arya trying to interfere, but apparently Ross Von Erich put one of the Dirty Blondes in the Iron Claw, allowing him to win the victory. I mean, I felt they could have done something better in this, but it wasn't. I wasn't too sold on it. It didn't give up the building of the story between these two teams. Then we see, as you know, what was it, a week or two ago, Tom Lawler won the Opera Cup tournament, and he's been happy like a clam ever since he won. So he's like showing out, saying he's the best, that violence is the true nature of what MLW needs. So he's been doing that. So we don't know what he's planning on to since then. But the real question is he going to make a play for the MLW World Title? That's exactly what Davey Boy Smith did uh, before the whole thing with the um, before we start with the whole thing with the pandemic, and then he did get his title shot against Jacob Fatu. But the real question is, are we expecting that? And to be honest with you, I hope so, because it would be another interesting storyline to see. Now, we were supposed to have a grudge match between Contra Unit member Simon Gotch. Now, as you know, Jordan Oliver hasn't forgotten what Contra Unit did to Kodo Brazil during the pandemic, where he was taken out. Apparently, he was no longer fit to wrestle, that sort of thing. So he attacked Simon Gotch out of the blue. The match was already set and advertised, but however, Simon Gotch was a no-show. But the commentators did mention you don't know what Simon Gotch is going to do. So they were very careful what he was planning. So we don't know what is going on. As, as you know, Contra Unit's always been one of the most predictable factions ever. Like, you don't know what to expect from them. Then we go into the next championship match for the MLW World Middleweight Champion between the debut of Lio Rush and Myron Reed. Now, this match was interesting. We already been aware months ago that Lio Rush was going to make his appearance. He was going to make his debut. But however, Myron Reed believes that he is the ultimate GOAT, the young GOAT who will be the greatest of all middleweight champions. So he was the one who demanded this match to happen, because he felt if he wants to be the best, he has to beat the best, and Lio Rush is no exception. So Lio Rush, instead of accepting the challenge, he decided, you know what? I'm going to play by my rules. And that's when he set up this match for Kings of Colosseum. Now, you don't know what to expect this match, especially when it comes to Myron Reed and Jordan Oliver, aka Injustice. So you would have assumed that Jordan Oliver will interfere, but it didn't happen that way. There are moments recently with Myron Reed where he doesn't need him, even though he has that chest protector. But it didn't do so well. But surprise, surprise, Lio Rush won the match. So he is now the new MLW World Middleweight Champion. Now we get an interview with Alex Hammerstone by Alicia Atout. She was about to talk to him about his thoughts going into the match. While he was going into that, that's when we received an interference of the broadcast by none other than Contra Unit member and the brains of the group, Joseph Samael. No one knows where he is or where is he hiding or crawling at. But he did stated he just recruited a brand new soldier. Now, the latest recruitment was Mads Kruger. We haven't seen a Carl Kwan for some time. I don't know where he is, but we don't know who the new soldier is, and that kind of makes the talk. He's been everywhere. He's been to South Africa. He's been in the Middle East. He's been in Asia. That's what he's been saying. That's like saying, I'm over here. I'm over here. That sort of thing. Now, as you know, for months prior before MLW restarted, they were doing this whole thing with Pulp Fiction or something they were doing. For months, Conan had his suspicions about Selena De La Renta, indicating that she was the one who gave Contra Unit the keys to the venues, gave them access. She was fired from being a producer, but out of nowhere, somehow she obtained her rights to be a producer and saying next week she's running the show. But however, she did stated that she's going to give LA Park and his sons another chance, because after what happened the last time, if you recall, LA Park accidentally speared Selena De La Renta through a table, and that kind of soured their relationship. But however, she did stated that she made a deal with Los Parks, saying they will get a tag team title opportunity against the Von Erichs. But here's the added twist. She said she has for special ref is Tom Lawler. If you recall, Tom Lawler has beef with the Von Erichs. He had his history with them. Kevin Koo and Dominic Gurry tried to take those titles from them, but however, it appears Selena De La Renta wants this to happen. So she knows exactly who is enemies with the Von Erichs. So anything could happen. Tom Lawlor can screw the Von Erichs from winning the title, but there's also something else. Selena De La Renta and Tom Lawlor were never close after what happened when he beat her former flunky, Low Key, for the title. So we'll see what happens when we get to that. Now, Myron Reed acknowledges that he lost. He still believes he is the young GOAT, the ultimate GOAT. So, however, he feels he will regain his MLW World Middleweight title. And he said that is justice. But out of the blue, out of nowhere, they were ambushed. He and Jordan Oliver were ambushed by none other than Contra Unit members Simon Gotch and Jacob Fatu. But we saw the identity of the new soldier involved with Contra Unit, and that soldier is a familiar face throughout the wrestling world. That guy is none other than Daivari, or as we know him in real life, Sean Daivari. He is now the newest member of Contra Unit. Now, keep in mind, Injustice had history with Contra Unit because they made attacks to Cotto Brazil out of the blue, and they wanted revenge for what they did to him. So basically, now looks like we're going to see a feud with them. But the real question is, does Injustice has what it takes to take them on? As you know, Contra Unit are a bunch of savages. They'll destroy anybody that gets in their way. Now let's get to the main event, which was for the MLW National Openweight Championship between Contra member unit Mads Kruger and the current champion Alex Hammerstone. Now, throughout the entire match, you can see these are two heavy hitters, two big, huge dudes that you know they can take each other on. But the real question is, who's going to come on top? They've been going back and forth on this. They've been fighting in and out of the ring mostly, but the ref had no other choice but to call off the match. So basically, this feud between Kruger and Hammerstone is reaching new heights. So the real question is, how is this going to be resolved? How is this going to end? Well, all we can do is wait and see what the MLW officials decide. So, I think that's it for now for MLW's King of Colosseum. Let's talk about the two events with WWE. Alright, so we got WWE's NXT UK and 205 Live. So let's start with NXT UK. The first opening match was for the number one contendership for the NXT UK Women's Championship against Kylie Rae. Now, this is an interesting feud between both Ginny and Piper Nivens. Now, this dates back months ago. Piper Nivens was in a match against Kylie Rae, and she could have won the match. But however, Ginny showed up and whacked Piper Nivens in the back with the chair. Her claim, she feels she gets what she wants, and she believes this is her time, that she's the queen, that she deserves that title shot. Now, the match seems like it was going great. You could see she was throwing a bit of submissions. Piper Nivens wasn't going to back down from her or try to tap out. But however, the strangest things happen. Joseph Connors, who we haven't seen for quite some time, shows up. We don't know what he was doing there. But later it was revealed. There was a moment where Piper Nivens was about to take out Ginny outside the ring. Joseph Connors pushed her out of the way and took the bullet. Now, it seems like the match was already in her favor for Piper Nivens, but once again, Joseph Connors helped Ginny, allowing her to win the number one contendership to face Kylie Rae for the NXT UK Women's Championship. Now, the real question is, why? Well, he says that he's happily to oblige to what she wants. But what's going to happen to Piper Nivens? Is she's going to take it, allowing this person to get in the way? Well, we'll see what happens. Now, we get a little video package from none other than the tag team duo Pretty Deadly. They sent out a very interesting message to the current NXT UK Tag Team Champions Gallus. They have been dying to get an opportunity against Gallus for those titles, but they believe that Gallus are afraid of them. Like, no, fellas, they're not afraid of you. They just think you're a waste of their time, that you don't measure up to their level. But they claim they can't measure up to them. Like, are you kidding? These guys are one of the best. So it's still unclear what Gallus is going to do. Hopefully, in the upcoming weeks, we'll find out if they're going to have them challenge them for the NXT UK tag team titles. Now, weeks ago, we witnessed a very interesting match between the winner of the Heritage Cup, A Kid, against his mentor and friend, Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate reflects on his loss towards A Kid. Now, he wasn't angry at him that he lost to him. He questioned about how he lost, like what mistakes were made, what did he did wrong. But he felt like he's still a student in the game, even for his age, for a guy in his experience. So that is something he's been reflecting on. But we do know he will bounce back, just like Trent Seven did. Trent Seven did reflect it weeks ago or months ago with his loss against A Kid for the Heritage Cup, and that is something we can see in the upcoming months when they come back better than they ever were before. Now we get another interesting segment from Noam Dar's Supernova Sessions, and his guest is none other than the sensation Ben Carter, we've been aware that he will be making his appearance in the NXT UK, but he was scheduled to be in a match the following week. But however, while he was conducting this little interview with Noam Dar, here comes the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, or should I say, the real NXT Cruiserweight Champion, the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin took offense that Noam Dar decides to interview Ben Carter, but he did say no disrespect. And of course, Noam Dar had to go there where he tells him, "You're not even the NXT." First, it was interim. So basically, he's telling him that he is not the true NXT Cruiserweight Champion. But however, Ben Carter saw a different way. He did tell him, "You are the Cruiserweight Champion. You're the undisputed." So basically, even Jordan Oliver offered him a chance to face him for the Cruiserweight title. And of course, it was already been booked as the main event for that night. So basically, we saw his debut a week ahead of time. Now, the current NXT UK Women's Champion, Kaylee Ray, has an interesting message to Ginny. Kaylee Ray is a fighter. She always finds ways to ensure she wins the title no matter what, even if there are moments she has to think it with her head to cheat or whatever. But she made a fantastic point. Ginny claims that money can buy her everything. But she did state it, can money buy her title? The question to that only Ginny knows. Because as you know, Ginny is power hungry. She wants that title so bad, believes that it's her time. Now keep in mind, Kaylee Ray is the longest reigning NXT UK Women's Champion. No one has ever measured up to her level. But the real question is, can Ginny dethrone her? That is something we gotta wait and see when the timing's right. Now the next match we have is between Dave Mastiff versus Saxon Huxley. Now, a couple weeks ago, Saxon Huxley attacked Levi Mir and Jack Stars after a match that they had together, and they were attacked by Saxon Huxley. Dave Mastiff took care of business, taught him a big lesson not to stop beating up these guys because they made fun of him when he lost to Rampage Brown. So Mastiff was so impressive as always. He took care of business. He embarrassed Saxon Huxley no matter what he tried to do to him. So he actually won the match. So Saxon Huxley has to go back to the drawing board. Now, we all know what's going to happen next week. We got for the NXT UK Championship, A Kid versus the current champion, Walter, the in-ring general. A-Kid reflects on his journey, how far he's come, all the way from Spain to the UK, winning the Heritage Cup. But however, Walter will not stand with a guy like him who believes disrespected the mat by calling him out. But he said he'll put an end to him. Now, Walter has been dominant so far for almost a year and a half or so. He could easily beat out Pete Dunne's longest reigning championship, but we'll see when that happens. That match will take place next week. Now, on to the main event with the NXT Cruiserweight title, with the debut of Ben Carter versus the champion, Jordan Devlin. It's very interesting to see this match. It was so good. I've been a big fan of Ben Carter for months since seeing him in the independents from GCW and Warrior Wrestling. And of course, his time when he made those 2 appearances in AEW. I love it. It was great to see it. But Jordan Devlin continues to show his dominance, even though doing outside tricks like trying to wear down Ben Carter. But in the end, Ben Carter still was no match for a guy like the Ace. As you know, he keeps saying, never bet on the Irish Ace. So I think that's it with the NXT UK. Now let's jump in with 205 Live, since I like to put them together now. The first match of 205 Live is Ashante D. Adonis versus Arya Davari. Now, this is one of those matches where you see 205 original versus the newcomer. As you know, Arya Davari has issues towards the new guys who believe that they're here to take out their spots. Ashante D. Adonis is no exception. He's very talented, and he was very impressive, but there was a moment that he seems like he was hurt, but he was able to somehow overcome the pain that he was suffering when he super kicked Davari. So don't know how he was able to pull it off, but he picked up the victory, and Davari, I think he can't believe what just happened. Now, the news still continued on from NXT. As you know, next week we have the opening first rounds of the NXT Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which I love watching. So we do know certain people are in it. One of the we know that they're involved. That's why the main event was set up as a preview. First team, we have the Bollywood Boys making their appearance, facing against August Gray and Kurt Hawkins, who are also in the Dusty Rhodes Classics. Now, this is a preview what you get to see, but this match was amazing. Now, I have been watching both Kurt Stallion and August Gray, how they function as a team. They've known each other for many years, and it's great. Great tag teaming. I did enjoy how this one goes. You didn't know what to expect. Like, there were moments like, oh, the Bollywood Boys seemed like they were going to win this match, but no, it's either they kicked out or one person helped out to ensure they did not lose the match. It was fantastic. I love it. I love how this was a preview for the upcoming events for the Dusty Classics, but I was happy to see who was the winners, and it was Kurt Stallion and August Gray. So I'm happy with that result with this match. So I think that's it right now with this. Let's move on to New Japan Strong. Okay, New Japan Strong is back with another event coming up. So they're doing the next latest tour called Lions Break, the Contender. So they're doing the road of Lions Break Contender. It starts out with Tom Lawler. For whatever reason, he's not there. But he did rant about how Russ Tyler screwed up in his match against Jeff Cobb. Now, in reality, Russ Taylor is no longer a free agent. He is now in reality with WWE, and he made a very good impression on NXT. And that is something we are aware of. So they decided to keep up with the story. But however, Tom Lawler did state that he has recruited a new member for Team Filthy. Now, he called him X, which is something has been common with New Japan. Now, you probably ask me, how does this X thing work? Simple. Let's say me and another partner who is well known, we're teaming with another guy that we decide, we're not gonna tell you who it is. Let's just call him X. So that means he is someone you may not know until it happens. So the anxiety of seeing that was going throughout the entire thing. So I wasn't sure who was. I mean, we can take guess as much as we want, but it didn't go that way. First match, we have the LA Dojo Young Lions facing off. We have this guy, Kevin Knight, who's making his debut, facing off against the top dog of the LA Dojo. We're talking about Clark Connors. The match was good, because sometimes with Young Lions, you learn that they get to experience the things they have to do in the ring. As you know, they're limited to do various things. Now, there was moments where Kevin Knight seemed like he was going to have the upper hand, because normally if you guys are fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling or New Japan Strong, you have noticed Clark Connor is the fan favorite and most likely to be the next guy to graduate the LA Dojo. So that's one of those things we have paid attention. Excuse me. But however, it's of course Clark Connors who won the match, as always, applying the Boston Crab on Kevin Knight. But however, Kevin Knight is showing a little disrespect to Clark Connors, like he's upset that he lost. I mean, you're a young lion. You gotta understand. There'll be times you will lose your matches, but you learn from it. But however, at the end of the match, Clark Connor goes, "Welcome to New Japan." So basically, he's telling Kevin Knight, "Welcome here." That's how it works. Now, the next match is between the DKZ versus Rocky Romero. Great match. I did enjoy. I have seen DKC maybe one or two occasions with my friends at the Level Up show. And of course, he was rolling around with another promotion here, Fist Combat. He was the Fist Combat television champion, but he had to relinquish the title due to his new commitments with New Japan. And I know those guys are proud of him, where he's accomplishing and all that other stuff. But the match was great, like you saw the DKC, he's determined to make a good impression and try to win the match. But however, you do not count out a veteran like Rocky Romero, who's been in the business for far too long, the king of sneaky style. But he did win the match. Rocky won the match, but however, something happened. A very good promo. So he comes out with the mic saying that he knows he lost, that he felt disappointed, that he wants to get stronger. He calls out the head coach of the LA Dojo. I'm talking about Katsuyori Shibata. Yes, guys, Shibata. So he asked him if he can join the LA Dojo. So Shibata, this is his response: "Come with me." So he accepted him to join the dojo. That is something you don't see. The last guy who joined the dojo in public was none other than Ren Narita, who was with the dojo in Japan. So he wanted to learn with the LA Dojo instead. There is a documentary about the LA Dojo if you guys are interested. I think there is in YouTube. You can see it. I have seen many wrestlers who went there, like Danny Limelight, my good friend Mike Camden, and a few others. And that's pretty much it on that. So, great surprise. Now, Kevin Kelly, who is the commentator of New Japan Strong, had an interesting interview, or in a Zoom or Twitter or Skype kind of session with Ring of Honor Bateman. Now, Bateman, we all know what he did on the final time before the start of the new year. He and what's his name, Vincent, took out Matt Bennett with the blog on his leg and tried to take him out. Bateman does have history with the LA Dojo. It turns out that he was a bit of aggressive, and he seems like he feels that the young lions are just there to feed him when he arrives. So it looks like he's ready to make his appearance. It's been revealed he will make his debut. Now let's get to the main event. We got the Regal twins teaming up with Brody King, facing off members of Team Filthy. We do know that JR Kratos and Namely Limelight are involved, but however, the identity of X was none other than the Dirty Daddy himself, someone I did not expect, but he fit perfectly with Team Filthy. I'm talking about Chris Dickinson. Yes, Chris Dickinson made his New Japan debut. He was involved with GCW. I've been seeing him mostly in those shows with GCW. But seeing him in New Japan, it's going to be interesting to see him. It's wow. But you can see the moments in this match where you see Brody King wants a piece of JR Kratos, but the match went great. It was so amazing introducing Chris Dickinson, but however, the match ended with Team Filthy taking up the victory. But however, Brody King still wants a piece of him. So he wants a piece of him no matter what. They try to separate them. But it looks like we may get a feud between JR Kratos and Brody King, which I would love to see. So I think that's it for this episode, reviewing these shows with MLW, Ring of Honor, 205 Live, NXT UK, and New Japan Strong. Hope you guys enjoy them too. I will be doing the next one with the Japanese promotions and, of course, Impact Wrestling's Genesis. So, I must bid all of you guys adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.